Hello, and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last BQH hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of a section of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, she's my hypnotist who's reading me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm speaking of myself under hypnosis, which means that the answers are coming from the 25th dimension. And before I start reading, I would like to thank you as always for subscribing, liking, and commenting. I really appreciate that. All right, I'm going to jump in now. Lorrayne, you have said that Mother Teresa is from the dark, but there are those who are trying to sanctify her. And she's actually already a saint now. I checked after the session and I realized it was already done. Were all saints from the dark or simply victims of ritual sacrifice? Or was there someone who was actually from the light and did some good in the world? So the purpose of this question is that at this point, considering that nothing is really as it seems or as we've been told to think of these things, then I figure I'm like, okay, what's up with saints then? I mean, why were they sanctified? Me. So we will say that the dark will not celebrate anyone who is inconvenient. We said this in reference to many people you've asked us about before. And therefore, they wouldn't necessarily sanctify or bring up as an example of what to do, because really, what does that mean, sanctifying? We're saying this person is special and acted in a very special way, and we would like to keep this person as a role model. So we would not bring up these people as a role model if their actions were actually inconvenient or were actually damaging to what we're trying to do, which again is control, etc., etc. So when you think of the saints, either they were people eaten by lions in arenas, so they were sanctified, and Claire is referring to this in her question. So they were sanctified for deciding that they wanted to die for something they believed in. And then that's what happened. And what were they believing in? They were believing that there was a God, as opposed to there being no spiritual dimension to their lives. In fact, at the time, you were supposed to believe that your monarch, or in this case, the emperor, the Roman emperor, was God. And so these people were willing to die for this, and they were sanctified. And of course, they were sanctified once the Christian religion took hold, right? They're the ones that are sanctifying these people. So really, they're just saying they were champions for our cause. So some people became champions because of that. And some people were brought up again as an example to follow by the church, just like we're talking about Thomas Aquinas. They're a corporation, they're an institution, they're like a corporation, and they will have their heroes, people they can say, this is how you want to be. And so a lot of saints were people. Now, there were saints who did very good things, but the reason they were sanctified was not because they were good people. I guess this is the distinction we would like to make. Of course, there were people among the saints who did good things. So, for example, we can think of St. Francis. He was very close to animals at a time when there were, and even after that, there were people, especially women, who were burnt or called witches for being close to animals, for being in touch with nature. He was sanctified for, theoretically speaking, to animals, connecting with animals, living a life of poverty. So he didn't do, at least on the surface, as far as we know, he didn't do, we are looking at this from a 3D perspective, he did great things. He didn't do any dark actions, again, as far as we know. But really, truly, why would a church sanctify somebody like him? What is the idea behind it? It's leave the power to us, give up all your earthly possessions, let us control. They had already decided this is what they wanted to do. In fact, who are the richest people? Who have been the richest people forever? There's been people within the institution of religion, especially Christianity. So they're telling you, give up your earthly possessions, but they're also saying at the same time, leave them to us. They were laughing here. So you see, so to answer the question is a little bit more nuanced than the way it was posed. So to answer your question, were there people who were sanctified, who did good things, meaning who were good people? What we consider to be good, of course, always good is such a 3D concept. But yes, were there? Yes. Does it mean that everybody who's being sanctified was like Mother Teresa? No. And it doesn't mean they have to be only people on the side of the light. It doesn't mean they have to be people only on the side of the dark. Some people were just in the middle and they wanted to experience certain things, and that's what they did, like dying by being eaten by a lion. The lions were not faring any better. That was not a life, you know, they were slaves. They had been taken from places where they were free. Nobody was having fun. At a 3D level, no one was having fun in that entire picture. So does it mean that everybody was dark? No. Does it mean that everybody was a saint? What we think of a saint? Oh my gosh, like it's a saint? No, we already said nobody's just one thing. So many of these people are just normal people. But again, they were taken as examples by the church to bring forward, again, to manipulate people, to bring forward certain role models to aspire to be like. Because really, what is a role model? It's a message. Do what I'm doing or be like I'm being, really, truly, normally. It's do what I'm telling you to do. It's not even what I'm doing. And we're laughing here. Do as I'm telling you to, because I'm not doing it. And this is normally how it works. So yeah, to answer the question, no, not everybody was on the side of the light or side of the dark. It doesn't mean just being sanctified doesn't mean you have to be on the side of the dark, like in the case of Mother Teresa. There were people who were actually normal people that happened to be sanctified, but again, because their sanctification served the purpose of the church. And the purpose of the church has always been to manipulate people. Lorrayne, thank you. Okay, did Jeff Bezos' wife divorce him when Bezos died and was replaced with a double, and is she still around? Me. So she's gone as well. You know, they have people replacing these people, just like they did with Bezos, so we wouldn't know. Yes, that's what's happened. And not only that, she made it a point to show allegiance. Clea saw, for example, that as soon as she got divorced and she on paper got all that money out of the settlement, she made a point of donating to organizations that we know are not of the light, like BLM, for example. And this was her way of showing, yes, I'm divorcing this guy. I'm done playing this part, this role, but I'm still on your side. Because, of course, she was afraid for her life as well. And since then, again, she's been replaced anyway. And you know, a lot of people, even the actors now, their essences are gone. So yeah, Bezos has been gone for a long time. Lorrayne, who's at the top of the dark team? Some say it's the Rockefellers and Rothschilds. Some say it's the 13 Venetian families. There's also a rumor that the latter were taken out by the White Hats a few years back. Is this true? Do these people get replaced by actors when they pass, like the Rockefeller descendant who publicly died a couple of years ago? And I can't remember his name, but anyway, you guys probably know who I'm talking about. Me. So to answer your last question, yes, of course, they used, and we've explained this before, they use these ideas. We tend to believe they use them on us. The problem is that they use them on themselves too. They end up affecting them too. Everything that they tell us, while they think, oh, we're just telling them this lie, they absorb everything. So whatever they think that they do for our sake, they do for themselves. And this is the problem, right? They live in the dark reality they've created. They think they're creating it for us, but it really, they're the biggest, if you want to think of it in these terms, they're the biggest victim of it because they live in that reality their entire life. It's not like us getting glimpses of it. And again, we've said we don't even see 1% of what's actually happening. So yes, they do replace their own people. The reason they replace their own people, very simply, is the same reason they replace Gates, the same reason they replace Pelosi. We talked about her. The same reason they replace everyone really that can get away with replacing, like the current president and whatnot, is because they maintain these. It's not about a person, it's about what a person represents, what the person stands for. The person is almost like a node in a system, in a structure. And therefore, you can't just remove that node because the body passed away. They don't care about the body. In that sense, they're very spiritual. We said this before. They play with spirituality in the sense of saying, you know, they think that they can somehow affect essence to do certain things, incarnating in this body, incarnating in that body. They can clone it. They can split the essence. They think they're doing all kinds of things that are impossible to do. So of course, they're very deluded, just like we are. We're all deluded in this game. They're deluded in different ways from us. But basically, they do these things. They do believe, oh, if we do these rituals, then the essence of this person will come into this new body, or we're going to keep this body going because really it's a clone of the old person who died. They do this also because of financial reasons. When you're controlling these huge fortunes, as many of them are, it takes time if something happens to somebody. It takes time to move this fortune around or to disseminate it the way it needs to channel it into where it needs to go to. So they do this for many reasons, and it's the same thing, very similar thing they've done with the Queen. The Queen, we already said she passed a long time ago, but it was not the right timing on anybody's side. The white hats, the black hats, it was not the right time. and they had to deal with her fortune. She controlled so many things that they had to make sure that there was continuity here. And it's always just easier to do it this way. We said the same thing about Gates. Why would we remove Gates when we could just have a new actor continue the same policies? Continue, keep signing on the dotted line when it comes to making deals around the world. It's just easier than having to come up with somebody else or having to move that power to somebody else. So there's that. Now, your question was about who is controlling the dark. These people that we see are at the top, as in, again, this is the view that we are meant to see of this, as in they're very much, and again, it's not people, it's not like you and I, it's not people like saying Lorrayne is at the top of something. These are organizations. So they might have used multiple people playing these roles, okay? So it doesn't just mean there is this one person, but these names, let's put it this way, these characters that they use are at the top. They're towards the top, absolutely. It's many people coming together. Well, they like to think that they have a pyramid. We always see the concept of the pyramid. We even have it on our dollar bills, just to tell you, and they were laughing here. I think it's funny how we know, even we know, we pretend not to know, but we know what's going on. We're okay with it. And so they show it to you like being this very organized structure. It is organized in the sense of it's run like a corporation. It is a corporation, just like the mafia. The mafia is run as a corporation, but you see it. Let's look at the mafia, for example. You see it every once in a while, something happens. It is more fluid than we think it is. So we like to think now, for example, these ideas come from the Intel community where they say, this is the structure, this is where the orders come from. I mean, this is not quite the army, okay? It doesn't quite work that way, because even with the army, why does it work that way? Because there's pressure from outside the army to keep things in a certain way. And then if something happens, then there's repercussions from the outside, right? Meaning that the army exists within a context that goes beyond it. And so same with the dark. Why do we think that they would be so self-disciplined themselves? Now, of course, there's punishment if you go outside the lines. We know that they punish each other, they bribe each other, they blackmail each other, etc., etc. This is fine. But so the story we have been told is that there are these 13 families and that they were taken out and so on and so forth. Now, the fact is, most of them, the vast majority of them, have been gone for a long time. Yes. And did the white hats have something to do with it from a 3D perspective? Yes, absolutely. But the truth is, again, all we're talking about is a team of the dark. Do you think it would be, does the team of the light work like this? And they were laughing. I mean, let's look at it on the other side. Does the team of the light work like this, or the rest of the population? We are all the same. We already said this. Does anybody else work to where you have this pyramid and there's a person on top say, let's pretend the Dalai Lama, and the Dalai Lama tells us to do what he says, otherwise you get excommunicated. And they were laughing. Of course, they behave more like a corporation beside the dark. We already said this, for the purpose of business. And the business is to control all resources and make all these behind the scenes actions happen. They control organizations like the 3-letter agencies, secret societies around the world, not just in the United States, and all these things. Absolutely. But they're not quite as organized. And we've said this many times. They're confused. There's a lot of chaos. They're not quite as organized as we like to think of them. So, were there families that controlled a lot of things? Yes. Are some of the names that we hear repeated, these famous names, these personages, because again, it's not people, it's not individuals like we think of individuals. It's almost like a role that they play. Were these people at the top moving a lot of, puppeteering a lot of things? Yes. Does it mean it's only them? No, there's so much more. Because really, what are we supposed to believe here? That the people at the top of the IMF are somehow below, or to take orders from, they all work together. We already said this, for example, people go rogue all the time, like the new prime minister in Japan. I mean, it's not going rogue as in all of a sudden he's doing good things, but he's refusing to do bad things, what we consider bad things, with whatever excuse he's got. And he's been able to hold off people for a while. This is happening throughout the world. So to the extent of how the question was meant, yes, these people are towards the top or at the top, depending on who we're talking about. But in terms of what's really going on, it's much more fluid than we think it is. Otherwise, if that wasn't the case, now when we're telling you we have 5% of the dark left, they wouldn't be able, it's not like you necessarily just have the 5% at the top, because otherwise, who would they be executing through? Or it doesn't mean that we have exactly the 5% at the bottom so that they can implement, but there's a vacuum above them. Do you see? It doesn't quite work that way. So it's not as structured as we like to think of it from a 3D perspective. And it's not like this block. We always think of them as this block that does certain things, and they're so straightforward in the things they do. We have this idea of the dark, and we have this idea of the dark because they're very powerful, and they're very powerful not only from an individual level or as a group, they're very powerful because they have infiltrated or created really most of the reality we live in. So we are justified in thinking, my goodness, it's just this incredible column, you know, it's like a fifth column, and they were laughing. But in reality, it's not. We've said many times, in reality, they're not as united. So for example, since we're talking from a 3D perspective about who's at the top, there are many secret societies that are extremely powerful that we don't even know about. For example, in Asia or in other countries. And we don't talk about these people just because they're not in the public eye. Like, for example, the royals, the UK monarchs are. That's all. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to stop here, but I want to thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.